Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming to the Poe Museum. Um, it's, a, it's an interesting day. It's Edgar's birthday, and we're all here because we're a huge fan of Edgar, and that's really all you can really say about that. Talking about these portraits that I've been doing for the past 5 years. I've been doing a series of Edgar's portraits, and this is the first one. If you come out to my booth, I'm painting the third one in the series. The second one is hanging in the door as you come into the gift shop. How many of you have seen this before? Because we just took it down like yesterday, because I'll be refurbishing it a little bit. I'm going to add a frame to it, doing a few things to it so it can stay here permanently. I'm planning on it being here permanently. So my thought process of how this painting happened. When I first started working on this canvas, I had no idea it was going to be a portrait of Edgar Allan Poe. I was doing a splatter paint technique. It was water, and the colors just kind of came together in a way that made me say, it's got to have skulls and ravens on it. So the skull in the center was actually the first thing that went on there. After that, the raven went up in the corner, and then after the skull and the raven was on there, I said, oh my God, it's got to have Edgar on there. And after that, then the whole thing just fell into place. It became a series of my favorite authors. So this is the very first portrait series, the very first portrait of a portrait series of my favorite authors. And after this portrait, I painted a Stephen King, and then I painted a Hemingway, and I'm still working on the Stephen King and the Hemingway. So what I tried to do with this one was illustrate his stories. So as you can see, there's the raven in here. The skull represents the gold bug. The pit and the pendulum, with the pendulum swinging there. Now, there's one story that a lot of people overlook, and that would be right here on his face. I gave Edgar the Mask of the Red Death. So while I was painting this, I was watching the Vincent van Gogh movie. I'm sorry, the Vincent Price movie. I'm currently painting the Vincent van Gogh, so I'm getting my Vincents mixed up. So, the Vincent Price movie, where he was in the Mask of the Red Death, and I put that on his face as kind of a hidden story. So as you go down, as you follow, your eye follows the painting around, it goes to the heart, which is I tried to put the heart in the place where his heart would be underneath the portrait, and that's the telltale heart. Now, the black cat came in there last, and the cask of Amontillado came in there last. So as I put the black cat in, you can see the blood vessels coming off of the heart. They're going through the cat's fur and coming around, and they're filling up the cask of Amontillado, which, when I read the cask of Amontillado, I was extremely disappointed because there was no cask of Amontillado. It was all a big lie. So it made me go out and buy some Amontillado, and I highly recommend Amontillado. It's amazing. It's $30 a bottle, and there's a reason this story is named after Amontillado, and they rave about it. You should try it. So that's basically how this painting came about. And when I say I started a spatter technique, the background was what I did first. You just put the canvas on there, throw paint on it, and see what it becomes. It's a very organic process. And I just let it speak to me, and this is what came out of it. And then it's almost like it painted itself. It's very interesting process. And then after this one, if you go into the gift shop, the next portrait is about his life as opposed to his work. So the portrait in the gift shop is about things that happen to him. How the women, that's why in that one there's lungs. So the lungs are filled with tuberculosis. and then there's 4 women in that painting, and the 4 women are the women that died of tuberculosis in his life. So that story represents the tragedy of his life, whereas this represents all of his, well, they're my favorite stories. So now the one I'm working on out here, if you come and follow that throughout the day, that is a blend of Vincent van Gogh's style with a portrait of Edgar. So I've got Starry Night in the background, Edgar's in the corner, and with this work I'm trying to represent the poverty. As an artist, we all go through severe states of poverty, and Van Gogh kind of represents that poverty, and Edgar also represents that as well, being as they say, a literary genius. And I was told he got $14 for the Raven. And think of how much Barnes and Noble is making off the Raven right now. That it's a crime. So these 3 pieces, they represent all the aspects of his life. So I'm trying not to sit here and ramble on, but if anybody has any questions, anybody have any questions?
I do. What's your name?
Oh, right, the artist Chris King. Yes.
What medium do you use?
This is water-based paint. It's just 50 cents a bottle apple barrel paint from Walmart. My philosophy is the talent is in the hand, not in the medium. So, as you watch me paint the Van Gogh out here, I call it the Van Gogh Poe. I'm painting it with paintbrushes that I made from my own hair. So the paintbrushes are about this long, and they're on sticks I got out of the yard. Cut my hair, made some brushes, and I'm doing an impressionistic style. So the T-shirt was done in that style as well. If you get one of the T-shirts for the event, that original is sitting on the table, and it was made from paintbrushes made out of my hair. I don't know, it hit me one day. I started thinking, Da Vinci, they didn't have a store to run down to and just pick up a pack of whatever, and Da Vinci had to make all his own paint as well. And Da Vinci would do these gigantic frescoes, and they would just run off the wall because he was experimenting with his paints, and I've just taken it to that next level. I'm actually threatening to build a loom. I want to build a loom so I can make my own canvas, and other people are looking at me like that's just it's a little much. Yes?
So one thing, cat hair is also a great medium. Just saying, you have some incorporated feline things here.
Yes.
So, I'm into the hair idea, but 2, do you find that you paint more after you end up reading Poe, or was this inspiration beforehand and you found that Poe fit to what you were doing with your art?
Strangely enough, I never read Poe until after I started doing this. I saw his movies, I saw the stories. I remember some strange version of The Telltale Heart with Kelsey Grammer in it when I was in high school. But I was always a huge fan, so after I started doing this, my knowledge of his literary work was very superficial. Afterwards, I got his stuff and started reading it. So I have some interesting opinions that, I'm not trying to knock those around right now. But I actually started writing a book about it. It's called Letters to Edgar. I wrote a book, Letters to Edgar, as if Edgar was alive today. And I'm an artist living down the street. And, hey Edgar, I started painting a portrait, man, check this out. But we're 100 years apart. So. This is actually a bed sheet, by the way. Yes.
Out of his whole literary works, how did you decide which ones to represent in the painting?
My favorite ones that I already knew about. Strangely enough, Edgar his life has been crossing paths with my life for quite some time. I didn't even know it. I'm friends with Anthony Michael Hall on Facebook. I'm doing a convention. Anthony Michael Hall's there. Strangely enough, Anthony Michael Hall, when he was a really little young actor, he did a version called of the Gold Bug for Saturday morning TV back in the 70s. And I found that on YouTube, and I was watching Anthony Michael Hall in the Gold Bug. barely 9 or 10 years old. You know, it was well before he'd done 16 candles while I was painting the one that's hanging out there. And there's something else really, really creepy about this painting right here. There's a ghost face on the back of this painting, and I didn't put it there. I did not put it there. I'm going to spin it around. I'm going to build it up. We're building this up. Okay. I painted this painting for like 6 months, okay? And I had to do something to it that made me flip it around. And I'm walking down the hallway, and there's a giant screaming face staring right at me on the back of my painting. Now, some people say that, well, it's just Edgar, you know, and he soaked through. It's not Edgar. It's not on this side. It's on that side. So, when I came here and dropped this off a few years ago, there's a video of where I spin this around, and Chris, the curator, and you know, everybody's in the gift shop looking at it. And who's ready to see the strip? Now, see, it's going to make a liar out of me because it's not going to be there. But it's there. I don't know if I accidentally made an optical illusion or if I'm seeing, you know, bunny rabbits in the clouds or something like that. But hopefully it's well lit enough.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't do that. Okay, so. And not to mention the fact that when I was here, the cat just scratched the hell out of me when I was walking out. Okay, he was sitting on the thing. I'm walking in, then I'm walking out, and the cat just goes whoosh, like that. Right? So what's going on? Thank you, haunted Poe's Museum. Thank you very much. I'm having a good time. You know, make the furniture move. I want to see some of that too. So, my plans for this will be to take it back to the studio, give it a fresh coat of paint. Then I want to put some UV protector on it. I'm going to build it a frame. Then I'm going to build a loom. I mean, I'm going to put that aside and not build a loom right now. And frame it up, put the UV protector on it, and then bring it back. It's going to. There's nowhere else for this painting to go. It has to stay here. It's just, it would be ridiculous to move this around. I toured the country with it for about 6 months, and it just did not fit in the other paintings that I was doing shows, and there'd be a line of paintings. You know, I've got 100 of these things, all different subjects. This is my size that I painted. So I really didn't want it to get destroyed or anything like that. So, any other questions? Yes, that's a really cool outfit. Thanks. Put this together myself.
Very good.
Yes.
Since your ghost looks like the screen, consider doing the screen with Poe.
Ooh, like Poe's. That's a good idea. Yeah. Because Van Gogh did not do the screen, did he? No. But people think that Van Gogh did the screen. Who painted the screen?
Edward Monk.
What is it?
Edward Monk.
Monk. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I'm a little not up on my impressionism. I'm a huge fan of Van Gogh. I just found a book at the thrift store for like $5 of impressionism. I was trying to study as fast as I could. Any other questions? Yeah.
What type of paint do you find is often most empty? Like, do you work a lot with purples because you're wearing purple and I see a lot of people there, or is it reds and vibrancy? Like, what do you find you have to replace yourself in?
What do I have to replace most often that gets most used? White and black. Because you have to, if I buy one tube of any color, I have to get eight white and black because you got to mix it up, mix it down. Yellow gets used a lot. The colors that are transparent and not opaque, you got to put down like 18 layers of yellow, as opposed to the blues and stuff like that.
How were you, when you got interested in
How old was I when I got interested in art? Oh, I've been doing this since I was like 12. I did my first show when I was 15. It was in a little place called Front Royal, Virginia. I did a thing called the Festival of Leaves. I actually was in Front Royal yesterday, enjoying the 2 feet of snow. And I'm heading back to Florida after this is over. I operate all over the East Coast. I have stuff in Florida, I have stuff in Virginia. So how am I doing?
Good.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If you'd like to get a picture with this, like, standing next to it, I'm going to put it out at the booth, because they took it down for me to take it back with me, and they put the other one on. So, and feel free to come out and watch me paint the Van Gogh thing as well. Say hi, inspect the paintbrushes. It's very fascinating. I've been struggling my whole art career with just paintbrushes, and I take some of my hair and just tie it to a stick, and it's effortless. It's irony. Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right. Do what now? You want to take over? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris King. He's an artist.
Hi, I'm Chris King. I'm an artist.